The single leg Romanian deadlift is, I love it. It's a great exercise to work on imbalances. So a lot of us, if we were to kick a soccer ball, right, we're gonna typically plant with one leg and then kick with the other, or we really want to kick with this leg. If we are gonna kick a ball, if I throw a baseball, right, I'm gonna typically use my right side. And what tends to happen is we'll have some minor imbalance from side to side. An extreme version of this is if you look at a baseball pitcher or somebody who's throwing a ball, or a ball throwing sport, football, baseball is probably the most common, where they have so much of this rotation back. I have a little bit of extra, so I used to pitch, and they lack internal rotation. I'm actually a great example of this. I had a lot of this, and I'm lacking some of this. And this makes doing something like a snatch or a clean actually pretty darn difficult on my right side. But I have adapted to my sport, and I have my left side does not go back nearly as far as my right, and I have an adaptation, right? Because of my dominance on my right side all the throwing that I used to do. But this happens a lot with squats, where if I'm trying to go into a nice deep squat, and one side's a little bit stronger, I might be able to air squat and be fine and not really have any differences. But the moment I load up with a barbell and go down into my squat nice and deep, all of a sudden, now I shift one direction. Now I'm one hip drops, or something's occurring just because of a little bit of imbalance on one side. Ow, I have knee pain. Ow, I have this back thing that pops up. And the single leg Romanian deadlift is a great way to work on these things. So always take your shoes off. Make sure we're working on big toe activation, doming the foot. If you don't know what those are, I have some videos on that. But we're really focusing on making sure we're keeping the hips high. Anytime you hear Romanian deadlift, right, it's not a stiff leg deadlift. A stiff leg deadlift is, well, stiff leg deadlift, right? There's no bend in the knees. Where here we have a soft bend in the knees as we're coming down, and we're trying to keep the hips nice and high, getting low. So right, I'm not completely straight. I have a nice soft bend, trying to keep the hips nice and high. On the way up, really feeling that hamstring pull, and squeeze your butt. So this is just the Romanian deadlift. Really good on the hammies. Really good on the glute. And we're gonna add a kettlebell. So with the kettlebell, guys, you can hold it on either side. I like holding it on the opposite side. Why? Because if I'm in this position, and I'm going into my deadlift, it's gonna try and drop my hip down. I'll show you from the back. This is gonna try and drop my hip down to the ground like this. The kettlebell weight is, so you're actually gonna have to resist that the whole time as you are performing your Romanian deadlift. So what this looks like, we're on one leg. I'm leaning forward, soft bend in my right knee. Other side, wrong side. Core nice and tight, pushing out. On the way up, squeeze your butt and come on up. What I like to do, I like to think that my butt is staying nice and high, and I'm pushing it even higher as I come up. That's a great way to not use your low back. You can also think pushing your heel into the ground. From the side, it looks like this. Don't let that hip drop too much. Bring that heel towards, if I don't fall over, bring that heel towards the ceiling, right? Keep that hip nice and high on the way up. Keeping it high, drive the heel into the ground. If you notice, it's kind of really hard to do this, but if you notice, yeah, it's not even worth saying this. Sometimes you can actually, if you do a traditional deadlift, you might end up here and then coming up, kind of doing a good morning. That's really hard to do that with the Romanian deadlift. But guys, this is the single leg Romanian deadlift. Let me put the weight down and show you. Excuse me. So we're here, again, on one leg, coming down. If I don't die. Coming down, all the way, nice and tight, 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 tight. Squeeze your butt on the way up. Just don't fall over. Really helps the balance as well. Notice how my back's nice and flat here, guys. Not rounded, shoulders are back. I'm holding the weight, that's awesome. This leg is nice and straight. Squeeze that butt. Keep that butt squeezed as you come down. Keep that core engaged. You might fall over if that glute doesn't want to activate. I have a hard time making my foot flat on the ground. That might be your limiting factor. Yes, we'll build strength. We're gonna build a lot of motor control and work on that side that is a little bit weaker, but also probably lacks in motor control.